Hello, my name is Troy Nehls, and I am a candidate for Fort Bend County Sheriff. Over the past several weeks, I discovered that my opponent, Craig Brady, has been distributing literature to my supporters throughout Fort Bend County, which talks about my dismissal from the Richmond Police Department in 1998. Just recently, I was informed that Mr. Brady has been making phone calls to voters in which he refers to me as his chief opponent, who has been fired twice. I was employed at the Richmond Police Department from 1995 to 1998. During that time, I was assigned to patrol an area in Richmond commonly known as Mud Alley, where drugs and criminal activity flourished throughout the day. Being relatively new to Fort Bend County, I was shocked to see such blatant disregard for the law and could not understand how these illegal activities could exist in such a progressive, proactive community. I was familiar with the state program called Turnaround Texas, where then Governor Bush permitted for the Texas Army National Guard to assist communities throughout Texas in destroying abandoned and dilapidated housing used for criminal activity. I immediately notified my chain of command regarding this program and sought permission to take charge and implement Turn Around Richmond. Over the period of the next 6 months, over 30 structures, which were identified as nuisances throughout Richmond, with several of them being located in and around Mud Alley, were destroyed. This program received enormous support throughout the community. It took a group effort, working with community leaders and activists, as well as various church groups. We started this program without a budget and funded this entire project by raising $10,000 at our barbecue fundraiser in front of the Richmond Police Department. I was proud to receive several letters of commendation for my efforts and was the recipient of the 100 Club Officer of the Year in 1997. A letter written to Chief of Police Mitch Gibson from Richmond City Manager Glenn Gilmore stated, I quote, "I would like to congratulate you and your staff on a job well done in the Turnaround Richmond project. More has been accomplished in the past 6 months to combat crime in our town than has occurred in the past 50 years, end quote. I appreciate those words. Shortly after, Chief Gibson announced his retirement. I, being somewhat naive to politics in the city, supported Captain George Peruke for the chief's position, as he embraced the community policing philosophy, which was so well received by the residents of Richmond. Captain Peruke was not selected for the chief of police, and I felt my entire career with the Richmond Police Department was in jeopardy. My commitment to this project and the attention it received created some tension within the police department. I sensed some frustration and ill will with some of my colleagues. Within 12 months of receiving the 100 Club Officer of the Year award and several commendations, I was dismissed from the Richmond Police Department. I can say without reservation that this project played a major role into my dismissal. I often reflect and look back at my years with the Richmond Police Department and realize that implementing positive change and developing new programs may not always be well received with your peers. Today, I consider Richmond Chief Bill Whitworth a very professional law enforcement administrator and consider him a friend. I felt compelled to share this story with you as Mr. Brady and his team are distorting the facts in an attempt to discredit me. This week, Mr. Brady and his team started making phone calls to voters throughout Fort Bend County, claiming that I had been fired 2 times. I would like to set the record straight, as Mr. Brady has a difficult time telling the truth. Mr. Brady, you claim I have been fired twice. Your campaign is entirely focused on me, as your time with the Sheriff's Office lacks substance, and you have very little to say about your accomplishments over the past 14 years. Mr. Brady fails to tell you in his literature and phone messages that he and Sheriff Milton Wright hired me in 2002, shortly after leaving the Precinct 4 Constable's office, and after my dismissal from the Richmond Police Department. Mr. Brady, you hired me because you yourself recognize that I am a man of integrity with strong leadership qualities. Mr. Brady also fails to tell you that he was terminated by Sheriff Molina in 1992. I've established a platform with 3 talking points. First, improving the dismal crime solve rates. The Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office solves just 4% of the residential burglaries, which is 56% below the state average. This dismal solve rate has existed for the past 10 straight years, all under Mr. Brady's leadership. Number 2, reducing the fiscal mismanagement of the Sheriff's Office. The overtime bills charged to the taxpayers over the past 3 years surpassed $3.1 million. We can't afford this anymore. Again, all under Mr. Brady's leadership. Number 3, changing the culture and the way of doing business. The 60-plus detectives at the Sheriff's Office work Monday through Thursday from 7A to 5P. I know that the street-level employees exemplify the best in law enforcement, but we must expand those working hours. Under my administration, I will create an evening shift of detectives. This will accomplish 2 things. We will improve the crime solve rates of residential burglaries and at the same time reduce the unnecessary overtime bills by having to page a detective out after 5 p.m. I would be honored to serve as your next sheriff, a sheriff committed to you and the families that call Fort Bend County their home. Thank you for listening.